Alrighty guys, welcome along to another episode of Martin's World, and Martin's World is brought to you guys by Martin Condon, myself. And today's show is 420 News, guys. It's Wednesday, midweek. Hope you're all doing good out there, guys. See, Craig is watching on the big screen with his Alright, just got a glitch there saying that I wasn't streaming, but hopefully that's after sorting itself out. So I hope you're all good out there, guys. Hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear to ye. I'm not too sure what that message was that just popped up on my screen, but look, it seems like everything is okay. So we'll just drive on until I see anything different. Guys, just in case you didn't notice, I got a new hat on there. My own one is here. Just doing just repping another person's brand. There is Foxworthy Farms. This is Martin O'Brien. They're over in the Sonoma Valley in California. Unfortunately, he's not in Cork, his hometown. But Martin, he runs a cannabis farm, and it's Foxworthy Farms. And he sent me over a t-shirt as well. So, Foxworthy. So nice one for that, Martin. I hope you don't mind me giving you a little plug there on the show, but I appreciate you sending over the old merchandise. So guys, on with the show we will go. So today the first bit of news is with our buddies at Keogh Crisps. So Keogh Crisps make the news today, and it is that the former executive Tony was back in court the other day, and this was in relation to what they say is €20,000 worth of plants. You all know my thoughts on that. But there was 3 offences he's been charged, and it's the charge of cultivation, possession, and intent for sale and supply. So Mr. Keogh, director of Keogh's Crisp, he was granted €200 bail on condition he surrendered his passport, provided Gardaí with a contact number, and signed on regularly at Swords Garda station. They've now since have had that signing on requirement lifted. Because it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, in fairness, what was the man going to do? Bunk on? Nice one there for the donation there, Arcadia. Much appreciated for that. But Tony Keogh, anyway, as I say, he was up in court, and he's out in €200 bail, and he had to sign on every day at the Garda station down in Swords. So they've lifted that now, quite rightly so, because he wasn't going to abscond. In fairness, the man, he was growing a few cannabis plants. The fact he had to give in his passport and everything, like what was he going to do? Move to Spain where he isn't going to be a criminal for this kind of carry on? Is that what you were worried about? Were you worried that he was going to move away to another country with more progressive laws that don't discriminate against people and the plants that they grow? You know, Tony Keogh, part of Keogh's Crisps, like a massive company here in Ireland, doing some very tasty snacks. In fairness to him, I can remember when this whole thing took off, like the cannabis community really got behind them. But I was eating Keogh's long before this, because they actually were quite tasty. I love their cheddar cheese and onion crisps, like that they're just full of flavour. So like I would love to see what this man could do with cannabis. Like, imagine the flavourful cannabis that Keogh's would be producing. But unfortunately, they're not allowed to participate in this industry because our government are either ignorant, and they'd prefer us to get our cannabis from criminals and from little kids on street corners, rather than legitimate business owners such as Keogh's. Like, Keogh's, you think about it, like they're growing potatoes. Like, it just adds to that, just expand upon the range of products that they have, and allow them to grow another natural product, which is cannabis. People like potatoes, people like cannabis. What's the problem? So he's after being remanded on continuing bail, and he's going to appear back in court on the 12th of April, and I'll follow up on that case as it goes back there. But again, another 6 weeks there where his solicitors are going to be making money, and the DPP and all of the people involved, they're just wasting their time. They're going to be bringing this man to court for growing plants that were possibly, I don't know why he was growing them. Were they for medicinal reasons? Does Tony suffer with arthritis? Is he just looking for a prophylactic, which is a preventative type of medicine for something? I'm not too sure, but he does not deserve all of this kind of treatment, and the state does not need to be wasting so much time, money, and just resources that we don't have to be wasting on this non-issue. It's a non-issue. It's a fucking plant. In fairness, as I say, like Keogh's would be an amazing company for growing cannabis in Ireland, because they're already growing potatoes. So I'd imagine that they've got the skills there. It wouldn't take much more just to change the crop that they're harvesting from their fields. So here's Tony, and here's his plant. It was actually a nice little setup that he had there. He kind of had a little canopy or something like that over him, and they were all in nice, neat rows. I think there was like maybe 30 or 36 plants, I think he had, if memory serves correct. So again, you know, it's a complete waste of time here, reflective of ignorant politicians in Ireland who are unwilling to actually acknowledge the real health-led approach that's needed here, because currently the approach our government are taking through prohibition is anything but health-led. Kids are selling cannabis on the street corners. I'll be touching off of a news story there later in regards to another shooting in Ireland, possibly to do with drug dealing. But again, this is what our government want. This is what they support with this kind of health-led approach that they talk about, where prohibition is at the forefront of it. It's absolutely ridiculous. And onwards we go, and more waste of time here, where another man has been arrested after €110,000 worth of cannabis was seized above in Dublin. And this man was in his 20s, so again, another young person here, possibly, you know, a potential staff member for Keogh's if they were allowed to be growing cannabis. Who knows, because his whole life is ahead of him. Maybe had cannabis been a legal, legitimate industry, this man would have took his interest elsewhere. But unfortunately, no, he gets caught here with €110,000 worth of cannabis and €2,000 worth of a cash as well. So there's an old image here of the seizure. You see the bags of cannabis here. You see the stacks of cash as well. And again, like a young fella in his 20s, sure, what young fella in his 20s wouldn't want to have access to a stack of cash and a kind of an endless supply of cannabis if you're a cannabis consumer? Of course, it's every young fella's dream, I suppose, you know. Obviously, they don't want to get caught, and a lot of them don't get caught. I know so many people out there who've been dealing from a very young age, and they're in their 30s, 40s now, and they've never once even been stopped and searched by Gardaí. So it just goes to show, you know, you're either lucky or you're not. And unfortunately for this young person who did have his whole life ahead of him now, he's been very unlucky. He's been caught with this. He's going to be brought to court. It's a pretty serious charge he has against him. And it's definitely going to diminish his ability to get jobs later in life. Do you know, another person who's possibly going to end up on the dole for the rest of his life, burdening us, the taxpayers, and possibly, you know, putting him in a position again where he's going to be more maybe lured back into that type of lifestyle where he had access to that kind of cash. Because I don't know if you know what it's like to be on the dole, but it's not fun. Do you know, it's not. You're basically scraping by. I know myself, like, while I benefit off of the back to education now because I'm in college, like I've about €5 or something left out of my €203 at the end of the week after all of the bills are paid, food is bought and things like that. Do you know, so being on the dole is not fun by any means at all. But yeah, unfortunately though, this man looks like if he gets the conviction, he's possibly going to be on the dole for the rest of his life. And then we go to County Sligo, where the Gardaí were busy in County Sligo, and they were busy scouring the woods in an area possibly tipped off. And in that woods, they found cocaine, cannabis, and Xanax tablets, as well as a gun. So quite a fruitful search there, you know, out in the woods. But during the course of the search, it was €5,800 worth of cocaine, €1,900 worth of cannabis, and €600 worth of Xanax tablets, and a gun. It's been reported that the searches that took place were in the Cranmore area, and they were conducted as part of an ongoing operation targeting organised crime gang activity in the Sligo and Leitrim area. The Gardaí said that no arrests have been made and that investigations are ongoing. So again, like, you wonder what the crack is with the Gardaí here. Like, wouldn't it have been better if they just kind of sat on the area, took a watch of it, and kind of waited until whoever it was that owned the material came and picked it up, and then they could have snatched them? But maybe I don't know, maybe wishful thinking there for me. But just because of the gun, mainly, you know, what do you need a gun for? I don't like guns being involved in drugs, because young people are getting shot in the streets of Ireland today. It's ridiculous. And our politicians are talking about a health-led approach, but they're not actually changing the way in which we deal with drugs. What in the name of God is Frank Fionn thinking? Like, is he happy with young people as young as 12 dealing drugs on the streets of Dublin? Like, seriously, come on. And guns then are involved in this. This is ridiculous. Like, we have to call a day on this prohibition, because it's sickening what's going on out there. And, here's a little image there of the guards. They're probably delighted with themselves, a day out in the woods, fresh air, sunshine. They don't have to do checkpoints, so the Gardaí, this was a great time spent for them. But again, it's a waste, because the cocaine, the cannabis and the Xanax they found, sure, they're easily replaced. There's many people out there at the moment currently offering the sale of those. It's a good thing the gun is off the street and out of the hands of these criminals. That's one thing I will say, that's a beneficial thing of this operation. But the drugs, what a waste of time. Seriously a waste of time. And to go into the gun then, like, the next one is the Gardaí are probing Kinahan-linked thugs after a boy aged 17 was shot in the face. And this was a story that I only came across, I believe, on Monday. And it's coming from last Wednesday. So this was almost a week old now. It was last Wednesday night. And the young fella, 17, apparently at the time he was hailing down a taxi when a number of men approached him. And he was shot multiple times. He got shot 3 times in the incident. He was shot in the face, neck, and the leg. And there was actually a total of 6 shots fired at him. So I'm assuming 3 of them had missed him, or maybe he was shot twice or more than once in one of those areas. But it's a serious case there. Like, he's very lucky to be alive. This is most likely a hit attempt on somebody in retaliation to something. And my suspicion is that it's linked to drugs, and much like the guard suspicion, because senior Gardaí sources have said that by far the most likely explanation is that this is linked to the lucrative drugs trade. And he remains in a stable condition currently. And last night, actually, this article that I came from was from Monday, so this would have been Sunday night. The young fella posted a video on social media from his hospital bed, and I've been made aware of what was in that video, and it was the young fella was actually taunting the people who shot him. He was giving out to him, kind of saying, what did he call him? He ticks, you didn't get me, I'm still alive. From his hospital bed, the young fella just after getting shot, like, and he on Facebook or whatever it was that he posted a video on one of the social media outlets, and he's calling the boys who shot him ticks, like, calling them out, like, he didn't give a shit. He was also known to Gardaí too, but he had no previous convictions. No surprise, he's 17, but he's also never been before the children's court too, so he's not been caught with anything. But he was known to the Gardaí, and he was known to the Gardaí mainly because of his friends. And he's friends with a dangerous South Inner City grouping that runs a drug distribution network in the area. And a prominent line of investigations is in his friendship with a group of notorious young street dealers who've links to the Kinahan cartel group. So again, here I'm talking about it like the Kinahan cartel group. They're actually coming up in a news story today, and how they've recruited in, potentially recruited in this young person. How long has he been working with the cartel group? Who knows? Really, only the young fella knows himself, and would he be willing to talk about it? I don't know. Possibly be afraid that the Kinahans will turn on him if he started speaking out as to some of this stuff. So most likely he won't speak out in it. But other sources have said that the group that this young fella hangs around with, they control street dealing in the Thomas Francis and Mead Street areas of South Inner City Dublin. Which has brought them into conflict with other local gangs. So again, the authorities are aware of these groups, they're aware of what they're doing, and they're aware of conflicts arising. And the conflicts are arising not because the two groups dislike each other, it's because they're fighting for turfs, and the turf, what they're fighting for is to sell drugs in that area and to control it in order to make money. Make money for the Kinahan cartel group or whatever crime group that is controlling the gangs that are operating on these street corners. Like, the only way we're ever going to truly to deal with these guys is by legalising and regulating the sale and supply of drugs in Ireland, all of them, every single one of them, because currently if you keep any of them illegal, you're empowering these guys, you really are empowering them. Like, if you are a person and you use, let's say for argument's sake, heroin, And you could go down to a clinic down the road and you can get your heroin for cheaper than maybe what you could get it from these guys. So why would you go to those guys? Wouldn't you be more than likely to go down to the clinic? And the same clinic then has a professional there who might give you some literature, maybe some information, some guidance as to maybe the next steps you could take with your life, maybe skilling up, maybe acquiring a job. Do you know, rather than being down behind a dumpster after just scoring some heroin off of a dude in the street corner. Like, serious, it's a no-brainer to change the way in which we deal with drugs in society. And like, people out there, I know a lot of people watching this, you're probably watching it because you believe cannabis should be legalized and regulated. But like, just think about it for a second, about all of the drugs. Like, if we were to keep any of them illegal, we're ineffective in achieving keeping our streets safer. Because the drug gangs are just going to go up. If we only legalize cannabis, they're just going to move on to the cocaine, to the heroin. And yeah, we need to provide an avenue for those drug users to obtain their drugs too. We shouldn't discriminate against people, because this discrimination is only hurting them. It's keeping them out of the hands of the people who actually want to help them. Because if you're stigmatized because of your drug use, you're probably afraid to open up about it. And if you've got a drug use problem, then you're much less likely to go and open up about it if you're afraid of being stigmatized because of that. So again, we just need to change the way in which we view drug users in our society, because we don't look that way at people who drink, people who smoke. Do you know, we don't have these same views. But if you're an illegal drug user, oh geez, he's a druggie. Do you know, we have all these kind of negative terms that we deal with, use on people. It's ridiculous. So detectives have been monitoring the activities of the ruthless thugs behind the drugs network. These include an out-of-control teenager with very close links to Liam Brannigan, who was jailed for 8 years last year for conspiring with Kinahan cartel murder plotters to assassinate Dublin man Gary Hanley. So again here, like, it's crazy that young people are being left in the hands of these people through the Misuse of Drugs Act, which empowers them to kind of lure them in through the appeal of, you know, come here lad, you'll have a stack of cash there like me, you know, you'll be able to flash a Rolex there, and you know, you'll be able to get that Canada Goose jacket. You know, this is how they're being lured into it. You know, and in this it says it's previously emerged, Gardaí have established that more than a half a dozen boys aged between 10 and 12 are dealing crack cocaine, heroin and other substances for the ruthless mob who have been involved in numerous assaults. Cocaine dealers and heroin dealers now on the streets of Dublin. Like, that's scary. Like, I don't know if that's exclusive to the streets of Dublin. I wonder how young the dealers are in Cork. I don't know. I haven't heard of any 10 and 12-year-olds dealing in Cork yet. But it's, you know, it's only a matter of time before it comes to the streets of Cork, if it's not already here. Like, it's the drug problem, it's just growing by the day. And the only way we're going to deal with it is by making these drugs not illegal, so we can truly help the people who use them if they need help at all. So some of the residents up here in the area had this to say. One of them went out and she could see the boy crying for help. She said that he was either getting into or out of the taxi when he was targeted, and he was kind of leaning into the taxi at the time after he was shot, obviously. He was crying for help, and I could see blood pouring from his face. It was frightening. He was very distressed, and some local people had to run to help him and were holding things up to where he was bleeding. So again here, like, we've locals now who've been exposed to what is a war on drugs on the streets, you know, that they're out there helping a victim of a war on drugs, this young person who was shot. And you know, that's an image that would be very hard to get out of the minds of these locals in the area. You know, some of them could have nightmares now, be suffering of PTSD. Again, more victims of this war on drugs, all because of prohibition. If we didn't have prohibition, we most likely would not be seeing this sort of carry on. You know, at least we wouldn't be seeing it carried on for drugs, at least, you know. It might be going on for other illegal activities. I don't know what that could be, but maybe others. But most definitely it would not be going on because of drugs. Do you know, you've Murphy's Rock up the road here for me, and you've Gainey's down the road. There are two pubs here in Cork City. Like, these pubs are not fighting over turf. Do you know, if I go for a pint in Murphy's Rock and if I go for a pint in Gainey's, like, there's nobody going to kill me. Like, there's nobody going to go up to Murphy's Rock and shoot the bar owners of Murphy's Rock for selling me a pint because I'm a patron of another pub. you know. So why don't we do this for the other drugs? It's crazy. Do you know? Imagine if Johnny Blue was killing guys who were smoking Super King. Do you know? Seriously, like it's not happening in other illegal drugs. So the problem is the illegality of the drugs. It's not the drugs. Ah, but I'm probably preaching to the choir out there, guys. You know, I'd imagine a lot of you would agree with me. So that is all of the news from Ireland. I'm going to transition over to some international news outside of Ireland in a second, but I'm just going to belt on through a few comments there, guys, because I see a lot of comments coming in from you. I'm just going to lubricate as well. Ooh. And sure, while I'm lubricated, I might as well dry my mouth back up again. Parked up a bowl there since the start of the show, and been meaning to blaze up with you guys. So happy 420, guys. Civil disobedience protest taking place here live on 420 News. Nice one for the shirt, Teresa. Much appreciated. So, guys, comments coming in, and thanks again, Teresa, for the share. And yeah, Francis is saying the amount of land that's getting wasted in this country, which could be used for growing cannabis and setting up loads of jobs and building our economy up again, instead our government would rather lock people up for growing something that is actually a plant. 100%, man. There's so many empty buildings lying around the place at the moment that could be utilised for the growing of cannabis. So yeah, you're dead right. There's loads of them around. I know myself, if I was able to do it, I know a couple of buildings that I've kind of viewed, and I was like, that's a really good spot for growing cannabis. It would be ideal, because you know, it's vacant, it's empty, it's not used. So yeah, you're dead right, man. The legalizing of cannabis would do so much for this country. It really would. Again, it shouldn't be about the money, but certainly there's opportunities for jobs in this. There's opportunities to I don't know, fix communities, you know, because certainly there's communities out there that the Gardaí are not respected in, and that's not good. What's the progress on the the Cannabis Activist Centre? At the moment, I'm just viewing properties, so still viewing. I've viewed 2 or 3 properties there, kind of just over the phone. The landlord would walk around the property with the phone because I wasn't able to go in there and visit it, so it was grand. I've been just looking at properties. I haven't gotten the keys to anything yet, but very soon, guys. Exciting times. So I look forward to meeting up with some of you, whoever can make the trip down to the premises. Because you know, it's all thanks to yourselves out there, guys. And it's all for yourselves out there too. Teresa said I froze on YouTube, so you switched over here. What a balls. I don't know what happened on YouTube. Yeah, I must have had a bit of a glitch there. Hopefully it's after sorting itself out. I see some other people still commenting from YouTube, so it might have. I am Toby says, Keogh's daylight robbery. Fuck me if I'm paying £2 something for a bag of potatoes. Yeah, that's right, man. They are expensive, and I will say I only buy Keogh's when I see them on offer. I'm a bit of a cheapskate, and as I say, like, I don't have much spending money at the end of the week. So yeah, you have to squeeze every penny, man. And Keogh's Crisps are certainly not cheap. But they do have good offers on them sometimes. I think the cheapest you might get them for is like 150 a bag, or something like that. You might get 2 for €2 if you're lucky. But yeah, Mustawa says YouTube's all good. Happy days. That's the job. Nice on there, Mustawa. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right as well. I'm just reading it, saying it as I read it. Keith says, well, Martin and community. Well, Keith, man, hope you're good. Dave the Rave, what's happening, Dave the Rave? Re-education and regulation. Yeah, 100% re-education is right there. Re-education is important, because currently how people have been educated about cannabis is that it's a dangerous plant. So there's certainly a need for re-education out there when it comes to these cannabis and other drugs too. Irish Wanderer says, Martin Sham, hello from the Waterford direction. Nice one there, Irish Wanderer. I was checking out some of your videos. They're actually, I love the bushcraft and stuff, man. So good stuff, fair play. He says he's 28 years old and the young lads around here get the best weed. It's heartbreaking. I was talking to Adrian Lynch, who was on the podcast there as a guest the other day. And nice one. Bitcoin is power. Nice one for the donation. Appreciate that. But Adrian Lynch was telling me as to how when she wasn't able to get cannabis off of her regular her regular plant distributor, she had to go searching, and the person she ended up getting it from was is a young kid, and she felt kind of icky about it. You know, it's not right. She's a grown woman. I don't know what age she is, but she's older than 20 anyway. She didn't feel right, and I certainly experienced that last year when I met up with a fella through Snapchat, and the fella I was chatting to was definitely not the kid, but there was a kid came down and he was like 15, 16, and there was a group of them actually. It was about maybe 10 of them came down. One of them crossed the road for me, gave me the bag of weed. I gave him the money, he gave me the weed, and he went back to his group of buddies. That was it, done and dusted. But it was just like, man, there was a group of them, like 10 of them. So all 10 of them like were complicit, I suppose, in it. Maybe he was the only one making the money. Maybe it was his dad he was doing it for. Not too sure. Bitcoin is Power says, how can people get involved for 420 this year? I'm glad you asked that, actually. I have a poster going around, well, not going around at the moment, I haven't circulated it, but I have a poster, and if anybody out there wants to get a copy of that poster and use it themselves, or have me add a place or location to it, get in touch with me. What I want people to do this year, this 420, Mustawis, again, nice one, legends, for these donations, guys, much appreciated. But what I want you to do this 420, what I would love to see happen in Ireland is as many 420 events take place all around the country, in towns, villages and cities everywhere, you know, and these events can be as small as 4 or 5 people or as big as you like. It's up to whoever is organising the event. It's up to you what you would like to do for your event. If you would like to just do it small with your own circle of friends, 5 or 6, just to get together, even if it's only out of back garden, but just make it public. You know, you need to video it. You need to video the 420 celebration. That's the most important part of it. Video the 420 celebration. As 420 rolls around, record your video. Give a little speech, you know, talk about why you're doing it, you know, maybe as the how you're discriminated against. Express yourself in whatever way you would like through the videos, and send them all to myself then. And I'll try to compile all of the videos together, and we'll make a massive kind of video campaign there, just around that whole 420. So again, my own event in Cork City is going to be taking place on 420. It's a Tuesday. It's at 3 p.m. outside of the City Library, and I'm organising a march. That's my intention. I'm going to organise a march around the city, and anybody at all who would like to come is welcome. If the 5 kilometre rule is in place, then I would hope that like only travel from within the county, I suppose. I don't know. Look, if the 5 kilometre rule is in place, look, it's up to yourselves if you want to break it or not. I think the protest is an essential reason, so I think it's a valid reason for breaking the 5 kilometre if it is in place. But that's a decision you have to make yourselves. But my event is in the city, outside of the City Library. We're going to march, going to hopefully have some speakers there, and sure, we might take part in a little bit of civil disobedience there as well at around 420. But again, guys, for yourselves out there, if anybody at all wants to do an event, by all means, get in touch. If you want to get a copy of the poster or organise your own one, create a Facebook group, create a Facebook page, create a Telegram chat group or a Signal chat group, and start inviting people into it and start organising yourselves around it. I believe we've got like less than 6 weeks now. I'm going to count it there now, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 weeks and 6 days exactly to 420, guys. Just so you know, not that I'm counting. 6 weeks and 6 days to 420. So you've a bit of time there to organise yourselves. Again, as small or as big as you'd like, but I would like to see as many of these events take place as possible. If you want to come down and make the Cork City event big, by all means go for it. But as I said, just because of the restrictions, because of COVID, I would encourage people maybe to do their own smaller events, but at the same time, go for big ones if you're up for it. So yeah, that's what the crack is for 420 this year. There's also an event taking place, being organised by the Irish Medicinal Cannabis Council, I believe, with Mike Barnes. So that's an online event if people would like to attend that. But for me, most likely, it most definitely needs to be a protest. It needs to be public, and it needs to be seen and shared widely. So that's my plans for 420 this year, and hopefully for many other people out there. So guys, nice one for the donations there, guys, and Podge as well. Much appreciated, guys. I'm very well, Podge, and I see you're a month off the cigs as well, a month off the tobacco, Podge. So fucking boola bus, man. Happy days. Congratulations for you. I know myself, a month off the cigarettes, my lungs felt so much better. Like, and I was Thai boxing at the time, and I could see the difference happening. Like, week in, I could see the improvement in my cardio capacity every week. I was hitting the pads for longer every week. That kept going for like about a month, and then kind of after a month, I seen that like the increase slow. Like it wasn't as noticeable then, because I reckon I was after kicking the effects of the. I believe I was smoking tobacco for about 5 years. So about 5 years of tobacco damage kind of undone after about a month. And I'd imagine, yeah, my lungs are in pretty good shape now today. I only smoke cannabis exclusively. um, so yeah, guys, I'll get back into the news there. Just Man Falls over on Twitch. Nice one for tuning in on Twitch there as well, guys. Hi, Martin. Have you seen all of the psychedelic companies popping up all over Europe and America? What do you think about them? Do you reckon some will be able to walk into a professional acid shop or psilocybin shop soon in the next, say, 10 years? That's a very good question, actually, and I'm glad you brought up that issue. I've seen a lot of ads being targeted towards me, and I don't know if other people have seen it, but they're targeting like microdosing products. So there's a lot of psychedelic companies now, as Mahon Falls points out here. And are you named after Mahon Falls down in Waterford? Just question. But anyway, as he says here, that there's a lot of these psychedelic companies popping up, and they're actually sponsored ads on Facebook, and they're selling psychedelics. They're selling psilocybin mushrooms in a microdose form. So I don't know if other people have seen them out there. So it's very interesting stuff. I do definitely think that this is the next thing. This will follow cannabis. It's coming already. I think in Japan, I believe there's already psychedelic companies being traded on the stock market over there, I believe. I could be wrong now. I can remember reading an article, something along those lines there. And Man Falls says, yes, beautiful waterfall. Yes, I knew that's what it was. Lovely spot, Man Falls down there. But yeah, it's certainly in Japan there seems to be moves being made, and elsewhere, like I think some of those companies that were selling those microdosing products were in Holland. So no surprise, Holland being the place that they're coming from. So yeah, I definitely do think that there will be more of an emergence of these kind of companies. Like when you listen to Paul Stamets, and when he talks about his microdosing regimen, and he kind of had a mix of ingredients there. It was the microdose of psilocybin, there was the lion's mane, and there was vitamin B12, I believe it was, or some B vitamin anyway. And he talked about each product having a role in there. To microdose, obviously, you know the role. The lion's mane, apparently a nootropic. It enhances the effects then of the psilocybin, which apparently also is a nootropic. And then the vitamin B then is to prevent people from taking too many. So from people trying to take macro doses, because it'll cause a hot flush. But the hot flush is needed too, because it helps the getting around the body. So yeah, there's certainly a pathway for these companies to come with products like that. You know, there's geniuses out there who know how to combine things to create products, and there's certainly a massive interest right now in psychedelics and microdosing all around the world. So I do think they will be the next big thing, much like cannabis currently is very much of interest to the medical profession. I do see a growing interest there in psychedelics too. And it has been growing as well over the last few years. Some great documentaries there. The Science of Psilocybin is one. We screened that in CIT. Really good documentary. And there's a couple of other ones there that I can't really remember the name of them right now. But there's loads of documentaries out there that are exploring the benefits of psychedelics in therapies. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for that question, Man Falls. Much appreciated. Boom. Let's get on with the news, guys, and then I'll get back to more comments in a little bit, so I get through the news. So, over in the UK, residents were shocked to find some cannabis plants above a co-op superstore in a little village in Northam. This was in a place called Bestwood, I believe it was called, and they heard the plants for yourselves just to see. And yeah, they also found some prepared cannabis ready for distribution from it as well. Some of the residents in the area had a few things to say about it. You know, they were shocked and appalled. They said it was a very good area, and that they didn't think that this sort of thing was going on in there. Crazy that, like, why wouldn't people grow cannabis in an apartment? Cannabis is illegal. Where else are they going to grow it? They have to grow it in your neighborhoods, because they don't have anywhere else to grow it legally. Only GW Pharma and British Sugar, or whatever the company name is, have the rights to do that in the UK. Unfortunately, people who want to get cannabis have to do so illegally, and yes, they do rent private premises in residential areas. And yeah, that does actually put residents at risk, because some of these people who set up these farms bypass power, and that can cause fire hazards. So there is certainly concern, but the real concern, it's not because of the cannabis grown, it's because the cannabis grown is illegal. Again, coming back to the prohibition, all of these problems, all of this shock by the residents, it shouldn't be because of cannabis, it's because of the prohibition that enables this sort of thing to go on. Yes, under the trees at Spar, I love it. But yeah, you know that, like, that's what the residents should be calling out on here, but they don't. They never really do, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, Joe Turner, 49, who runs a weight loss clinic and lives close by, says, I use this co-op quite a bit. He goes, it's a little bit out of place here. He goes, it's such a large family estate, and there is a lot of people that have lived around here for generations. It's an established family area, and so I would not expect it here. So like, he wasn't happy about it, but again, as I say, it's caused by prohibition. You shouldn't be shocked by it. You shouldn't be surprised at all. If there's people in the area who want to consume cannabis, well, there's going to be somebody in the area who's going to supply it. If that guy has half a brain, he'll grow it himself, because he'll make a lot more money. Or she, sorry for being sexist, actually, she might grow it herself too. It could have been a girl growing this stuff. But again, you know, more waste of time and money by authorities, not only in Ireland, but in the UK too. You know, all of these plants are going to be destroyed, while there's many patients out there currently with can cards who might have been requiring this. Do you know, there was a lot of people celebrating the can card. Like, where's the can card for the growers? Come on, like, it's high time we fucking change these laws. Jay-Z, guys, is making the news again. I've touched off of Jay-Z before on the news when he launched his company Monogram. So Monogram, if you don't know, it's a cannabis company, and it's a high-end cannabis company too, offering kind of like these prestigious products. So they're really nice looking products, in fairness. Bit out of my price range. There's like 1 gram blunts or something like that for like $50, I think it was going for. So a bit pricey there. But nonetheless, he's back in the news today because he's launched a series of ads highlighting the hypocrisy of cannabis laws in the US. So I applaud Jay-Z in doing this, because he's taking money that he's made from his career, you know, being an artist, but maybe from the money that he's making also with now selling cannabis, and he's putting it back into the highlight, like the injustice, the hypocrisy of the laws in the US. So Jay-Z had a couple of things to say. He said this, that cannabis laws are out of date and disproportionately cruel and punishing when compared to the rest of the legal code. I created this campaign to amplify the voices of those who have been penalised for the very same thing that the venture capitalists are now prospering from with the emerging legal cannabis market. Far too often we get that these are real people. Far too often we forget that these are real people whose everyday lives and futures have been affected by this outdated legislature. So that's coming from Jay-Z. He says people like Brian Rohn, who can no longer pursue a career in sales because of a cannabis-related conviction in 2003. And Rohn appears with others in the campaign, which ultimately demands the hypocrisy of America's drug policy ending. So yeah, that's very interesting. It's a very good campaign as well that he's put up. It's very good information, I suppose, in it. It paints the picture very well. Just simple black and white. But here's one of them. The war on drugs works if systematic racism was the goal. And like, just think about it for a second. That's been the outcome of the war on drugs in America. In Ireland, you could definitely say it's a class issue, but in America, like you can most certainly say that it's been a racist thing. Black people and Hispanics disproportionately being punished much more than the white people are. So Jay-Z's dead right in that. Also, like these other ones there. Apologies, I'll get that. Yeah, there you go. These other ones there. If you've used a flamethrower to light a joint, you'll be arrested in 17 states. But for the joint, not the flamethrower. Like, that's crazy to think, like, you're allowed a flamethrower, but you can't smoke cannabis. Like, what in the name of God? Like, who are these people coming up with these laws? Like, a plant, it's a plant. Like, you can have a flamethrower, but you can't have a plant. This is another one. More states agreed on legalizing weed than selected the current president. That's so true. There's more states out there that have supported legalizing cannabis now. I believe that the number is up around 35 or something like that have been in agreement with the president. So it's a good message to be sending out there, certainly after the election there as well. It's not too long ago. There are states in America where cannibalism is technically legal and cannabis isn't. So effectively, in some states in America, you could eat somebody and not break a law, but you can't smoke cannabis in the same state. Crazy, like that's fucking mad to think of. Here's another one. You can marry your first cousin in more states than you can buy recreational weed. Like, it's so backwards. Like, no offense to anybody out there who's married their cousin. That's what you want to do. I don't think you should be locked up for it anyway, that's for sure. It's illegal to fly with your AK-47 checked in luggage. And he's talking about the weed, not the gun, the AK-47 strain. So, that's crazy. You could actually probably check your gun in on a plane, but you can't check in your weed. Man, this is a great campaign. In fairness, like it's really good. Like I'm glad that he's done it. Really good. The liberal term for bribing politicians is often called lobbying. The legal term for possession of weed is often called a felony. This is amazing stuff. Like, in fairness, like, he's dead right. Like, there's so much lobbying goes on in America to keep cannabis illegal, because the private prison industry, which I think Biden signed off on there not too long ago to kind of undo, but still that effectively profiteers off of the back of people being arrested for a plant. It's mad. Like, it's crazy. And that's all legal. Like, lobbying is legal. Possessing cannabis, unfortunately, is not. Weed is a federal crime, even in the states where sex with farm animals isn't. So there's some certain states out there where you're allowed to have sex with donkeys, goats, and pigs, but you can't possess cannabis. Do you know, no offense again to the donkey fuckers out there and to the sheep shaggers. Like, I don't want you getting arrested for bestiality. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is I don't want people to be getting arrested for cannabis. No, you need to get consent from the animals too. Like, I don't think harming animals is good. But mad, like, imagine that. Like, it's illegal to text and drive in 2 states. It's illegal to smoke weed at home in 17. Which one costs more lives? And so we all know here in Ireland that driving on the phone, it's dangerous, as we're told not to do it, and you'll get punished by fines and all of this stuff. There's two states in that have that legal, and there's 17 have smoking weed legal. There we go. Like, this should not be the case. Like, that number should not be greater. Like there should be there should be zero. There should be zero states that haven't smoking weed at home illegal. Do you know, it really should. Whatever about driving on the phone, you know, I don't have any gripe there. Chicken fuckers. What was that? That was a South Park episode, wasn't it? The chicken fucker, the chicken molester. Yeah, and now I'm back to the start, guys. So that was a good campaign there, and these posters are going to be coming up across. I believe it's New York, Los Angeles, and other places in California as well. So yeah, well done there to Jay-Z on what is I think is a great campaign. Jay-Z also put out a video with somebody he talked about there a second ago. I have it here to play for you. It's just a minute-long video up on Jay-Z's website. Hopefully my thing is going to open here now for me for Chrome. Fingers crossed. No, it doesn't want to work. Give me 1 second. I'll add that in there now again. But yeah, the video, as I say, it's just about a minute or so long. Add capture. Apologies now, guys. I'll get this up here for you. There we go. That's her. Just have to fix the size of it now again. Boom. Get it fixed up in the box. It's always a pleasure doing a live show, isn't it? Where you get to fix kind of things as you go. And I move that down there. Now you can see me again down the bottom corner. This is great. Here we go, guys. So this is a little video put out by Monogram. So give them a follow on Twitter. Not that they're short of followers.
I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm currently reside in Virginia. I've been smoking weed since, the beginning. My finances started to slide a little bit, so I started to sell a little weed, and I purchased a few pounds of weed down in Texas, and I brought them back to Virginia. And they gave me 15 years to serve in prison for marijuana without a violent crime. While being in prison, it was very overwhelming because as I'm in prison in 2003, they already had legalized marijuana in the state of California. So as the years go on and I'm watching marijuana legalized in several different states, there's people in there with violent crimes and they're doing less time than me. It has been very difficult from the beginning of the sentence and even coming home and to transition and get myself stable. During my whole incarceration, I never seen my children until I came home. And you can imagine what it felt like to come home and they're 23, 24, and 25, grown women now. 15 years has slipped past me. I just, really want to do better for myself.
Imagine that, like, all those fucking years behind bars for a plant. And there's many people out there doing that right now, currently. As I say here talking to you guys, there's people out there right now serving time for fucking a plant, like, for a bit of weed. What in the name of God are we doing that we're locking people up? Like, these people could be doing so much good out there in our society. And we lock them up for such a non-issue, like, why? Why in the name of God do we do this? Like, we're harming people in what we do. If a person wants to use a drug, what gives anybody any right to judge that person and to lock them up? What in the name of God are we doing? Like that hit a nerve with me there now, listening to that again, because it just reminded me, my own, like, I only get to do 5 fucking days. 5 days in car prison. This man had 15 years behind bars. 15 years. His kids were 23. The prime of his kids' lives, like all of those things he could have been doing with his kids. So much, like, taken away because of what? Of a plant. What in the name of God are we doing? Like, and I see Bitcoin as Power says free Ross, and I that's to Ross Ulbricht, I believe you're on about there, the creator of Silk Road. Yeah, 100% free Ross. Like, what Ross Ulbricht did with Silk Road, it was amazing. It was much better than what the current legislators are doing. He done the community a service. Ross Ulbricht and the Silk Road. While it was a venture that made him a lot of money, actually, in fairness, like it was a fucking harm reduction service, in fairness, in what it done, and it gave a lot of opportunity for protection to the consumers out there. So well done to Ross Ulbricht, but 15 years behind bars, and it just kills me to think that there's people out there still serving sentences for cannabis. I report on them here all the time. And meanwhile, like, we have GW Pharmaceuticals, we have been sold for 7.2 billion. We have massive companies in America setting up now in different states. You have Spain with their cannabis social clubs. What in the name of God are we doing? We're still putting people, but like, these are people, like, these are actual people, real living people who could be beneficial to society, that aren't harmful. They're not doing any harm, and we're locking them up. What in the name of God? Like, don't look at the person as he's an illegal drug user. No, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's daughter, that's somebody's dad, that's somebody's mother. And just not an illegal drug user. Do you know what I mean? We have to stop criminalising and stigmatising people so fucking much. Like Endo and Amy says, a fella got €100 fine for sexually assaulting 2 women in one night. The Irish system is beyond fucked up. 100%, Amy, it is. It's so appalling. Judge Sean O'Donovan, who I mentioned numerous times on the show, but I've compared some of his sentence handouts there to people for dealing cannabis, and for people who want to break into a house with intent to rape and murder. Like that was a recent case in Cork, and he gave harsher sentences for people for having cannabis than he did for that. I just don't have words for it, honestly. I don't. I would get taken off the airways for all of the expletives I would like to use to describe these people. It really just gets under me skin. And then we have in the US, I suppose, to stick with it, as that's where Monogram is. We touched off of the election there as well, and Kamala Harris, the new vice president of America, who I suppose I was reporting on her being an ally of ours at some point, or in the 420 News, maybe in November or December, and maybe her win would be a benefit to the community. But it seems it hasn't been. She's now the vice president for I don't know how long, over a month or so, and nothing. Like, her lips are sealed around the issue of sorting out the cannabis crimes. Like, she's given lip service to decriminalisation and the need for spent convictions, like removing people's convictions for cannabis crimes. But she's done nothing about it. She's just paid lip service to it. Like, Biden's able to drop bombs. Like, surely it should be easier to fucking uncriminalize a cannabis plant than it is to sign off on dropping bombs and killing people. Surely that's an easier thing to do. But there's been reports come out there recently, since Monday, I believe it was, that's suggesting now that Kamala Harris has flip-flopped on her cannabis legalization position. And it wouldn't be surprising, I suppose, given that she has flip-flopped before. Kamala Harris was staunch anti-cannabis before, going back in 2010, when she was in California. She campaigned against the California Reform Initiative that was on the 2010 ballot, and she was Attorney General then. And she's locked up a lot of people too, I suppose, for cannabis possession. And in 2014, when she was asked on a live debate about cannabis legalization, she kind of dismissed the question and laughed it off pretty much. She said that her opposition were entitled to their opinion, and then started laughing, not giving her answer as to what her opinion is on criminalizing people for what is a non-crime. It should be a non-crime, like it's a plant and it's a freedom of choice issue, like, surely. And it was in 2018 that she adopted a pro-legalization stance and signed on to descheduling cannabis, saying that we need to start regulating cannabis. She's in now her current position that she's after flip-flopping to is shadowing Joe Biden's position. And Joe Biden is no fan of legalizing cannabis, but I suppose they're in a position now where they want to see cannabis decriminalized federally and expungements for people who've been criminalized. But again, they've only paid lip service to it. They've done nothing at all to suggest that it's going to happen. So again, actions speak louder than words. We've paid enough lip service to this, and yeah, I think definitely like people should be calling her out now on this, because she definitely got a lot of support there from the cannabis community, because I seen like articles going around in September and October pre-election, like showing her as an ally to the cannabis community.